Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Fiercely Bold with Lucie Mitchell podcast. I am your host, Lucie Mitchell, and we're going to get right to it. I am bringing you part three of the Dark Feminine Energy, I would say, masterclass. I'm going to do all kinds of stuff with this, but I am really fired up about this topic because I was just having a conversation with my business coach, and we were talking about this rebranding that I'm doing, and stepping into this PR agency role that I now have with Lucie Mitchell and Company, and kind of working through some of the inner thoughts that I had. And I had to stop myself from going down the negative path, because that's not tapping into my dark feminine energy. That's tapping into what we talked about in part two about that dark shadow. So when I ended it this last time, I talked about the goal, the whole sole purpose of being kinder to yourself, realizing we're all never going to be perfect, but all you need to be is you. So, your flaws, like I said in the last episode, are what make you unique and what make you interesting. Like, the deepest, darkest parts of yourself are the things that usually impact you the most, making you who you are. All right. So I want you to realize that when you're living fiercely bold, when you are tapping into your dark feminine energy, you need to focus on the positive. Okay. So here's like an analogy. Imagine yourself as like a 10-year-old child. Would you tell this 10-year-old version of you that you are a loser, that you're stupid, that you're ugly, that there's no hope for you? Would you tell that to any 10-year-old child? If you would, we are not friends. But the chances are, I would say that you wouldn't. We don't always look at at these type of analogies when we're learning about these type of techniques or these types of energies. We don't stop and think about, sorry to make sure my microphone was on. We don't think about the words that we use to ourselves, and would we say that to other people or even the younger version of ourselves? Well, you need to, because you wouldn't. So why are you doing that? Like, you would most likely take this 10-year-old version of yourself in your hands and look her in the eyes and tell her everything's going to be okay. Like, I know when I think about doing this exercise for myself, I would definitely say that Lucie, your beauty is not defined by looking a certain way. And I wish I could have said that many years ago, because I would have saved so much money. Like, no matter what she's going through, there is always a way out. No matter what she did that was wrong, it's okay. Don't let it destroy your life. Stop punishing yourself, babe, for things you did in your past. You can't change that. You can only grow from it and move forward. That's really the hardest part of the journey, because we can spend so much time on beating ourselves up over things that we did that were mistakes or incorrect actions or whatnot. And when we do that, we allow it to destroy us. And instead, we need to take that as like, what is the learning lesson here? What can I learn from this? And what can I do to move forward in a more positive way, in a more impactful way, and influence others to do the same? That makes sense. Like, looking at that 10-year-old version of yourself and telling her that your mind is a work of art. And I cannot wait to see what you're going to do with that. So the next part of tapping in to dark feminine energy, and what this episode is going to be about, is the power of self-care. I'm the queen of self-care. I did self-care this morning. I totally cleansed, masked, eye patches, all the things. I probably could have been doing something else, like going to the gym. The gym's open 24/7, so I'm not worried about it. But my skin, my self-care, pouring back into myself is like therapy. And I always get so heartbroken when I see and hear and talk to women who don't make that a priority. It's always about pouring into others, but you can't pour from an empty cup. And I know that there will be plenty of people that disagree with this and say, no, you have to put your children first, you have to put your spouse first, you have to put God first. But none of that can even ever happen if you are empty. So, practicing self care is one of the most effective ways to access your dark feminine fatale. Okay, self care is different as a dark femme, it's different than your usual that girl vibe self care, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you that throwing on a mask like I did this morning and eye patches or purchasing some massive collection of lotions is the way to access your dark feminine energy. Okay. Like using $50 shampoo is not going to make you any more femme fatale than the $10 one. Okay. Really. Now, as a former hairstylist, I will tell you if you're spending $50 on your shampoo, you're paying way too much. Okay. And I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to say that's not necessary. But you do want to use the right shampoo based on the needs of your hair. Okay, that's my little PSA. Okay. Dark feminine self-care has nothing to do with what we do externally. It has everything to do with what you do internally. It's not about focusing what we look like on the outside. It's about who we are internally. Okay. So last episode, when I talked about shadow work and I talked about the dark and the light, let me break down for you what shadow work is. It's a method in which you focus on the shadow self, like those parts of yourself that you're trying to push below the surface due to unprocessed emotions and events. Sorry, I'm a certified coach. I have to give you the scientific, the nitty-gritty of what shadow work is. What it does is it actually helps you to improve the way you think about yourself. Okay, so in the show notes, I'm going to include a worksheet that you could do for free. I want you to do this worksheet and you can email me what you discover. But helping you improve the way you think about yourself, doing shadow work could also have an impact on your relationships and life in general. Okay, so here we go. Most of us have a dark, deep side of ourselves that we would like to keep hidden. Right? I mean, come on. We're not all rainbows and sunshine and all the things. It could be anything from like deep-rooted insecurities. It could be traumas that we have not fully processed yet. So whenever that thought process comes up and you push it back down, that's your shadow. That's your dark shadow. These parts of ourselves tend to pop up every now and then. And when they do, instead of trying to push them out of your mind, you should bring them to light and work on them. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, you should work on them. Okay. When we don't practice shadow work, our unprocessed emotions tend to guide our behavior subconsciously without us even realizing it because it's a shadow. It's like you don't always notice your shadow, but when you do, it's like to the surface, like there's my shadow. Like in the park or whatever, Most of it is because we tend to subconsciously see our dark side reflected in others. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. Okay. So a very insecure person might constantly see reflections of judgment and disgust in others when really it's the opposite. So you're projecting onto another person your dark shadow. Make sense? Okay. They might interpret actions or words from others according to unresolved emotions. So the person can be like, that is not what I meant. That's not what I said. But your brain, your everything is processing it as that dark shadow. You're taking something out of context. That's your problem. That is your situation. That is your emotion. That is your shadow, not theirs. Okay. what happens is when we don't process our deepest, darkest sides, we tend to unconsciously reflect them in our everyday life. So maybe that thought process that you're not enough, you are projecting that somebody else in your space, in your realm, in your universe also feels you're not enough, when it's completely opposite. Okay, like realize that the way we live our lives is guided by our fears and our insecurities. And what that does is add fuel to the fire, feeds the beast, and adds in more insecurity and more fear. Okay. So the best way to work through shadow work is through journaling. There's amazing journals on Amazon. You could just grab it. You don't even have to buy anything. You just grab a piece of paper. And what I want you to do is I want you to write out your feelings and try to see if there are any repeating patterns or thoughts in your life. Okay? Like, the thing about doing shadow work is it's easy to skip because we're processing our wounds and that feels very uncomfortable. But when you start to shed light on the dark side, you actually start gaining a better understanding of your subconscious beliefs and what has made you the way you are today. And by processing that, you can stop what's haunting you. You could stop it in its tracks and you could put it out. You could bring light to the dark shadow and actually diminish it. It's true, it works. I've done this with clients, okay? Another So anyway, so that's what I want you to do. I want you take that worksheet, you got to identify one of your shadows, and I want you to journal through it. Because when you can journal through it and you can release it, you can heal it, it's no longer going to surface. It's no longer serving you. And you could do this repeatedly over every single dark shadow thought process that you have about yourself. All right? That's like some free podcast therapy right there. The other amazing part of, or it's like a superpower of dark feminine like the dark feminine type, is manifestation. Okay. So manifestation and visualization, I would say. So by practicing manifestation and visualization, in alignment with like your goals and your desires, you have the power to draw anything to you. Okay. So there are a ton of like manifestation queens out there. One of the ones I love listening to, I do her meditations. I've done several of her master classes and whatnot, and this is not in partnership. I just like to share because she's amazing, is Amanda Francis. Okay. And I will put her in the show notes. I probably should be making a note because this just came to mind. So I'm just going to write show notes. There you go. Okay. She's amazing at money manifestation. And when I first started working on this manifestation type with money, I followed her techniques and her meditations, and I was able to manifest like multiple 5 figures monthly in my husband and I's business, just by the power of manifestation and visualization. Okay. What manifestation is, if you're like, what the heck is that? And it can have many different terms in the world. It could be prayer. It could be visualization. It could be manifestation. There's like another one. Guided meditation, silent meditation, chanting, things of that nature. It's really just bringing the idea to reality using our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Okay. You believe that God loves you and loves you unconditionally. You're able to manifest that thought process and that feeling through prayer, because you could feel his energy, you could feel his presence. There are books. I don't think I have it anymore. I got rid of a bunch of books, but there is a book, Law of Attraction. I can't remember who it's by, but there are tons of books on the law of attraction and manifesting. And if you've read these books, then you already know that our thoughts create our reality. Okay, I've been talking about this. I've talked about it several times on this podcast. Like what we hold in our minds, we start to see in our lives. So if we hold in our minds that we are worthy, that is evident in all of our actions that we do throughout our day, because we feel it. But if your thought process is that you're unworthy, then that is evident in all of your actions and throughout your day. There's literally that much power in just changing your thought process. And that is what being a dark femme, a femme fatale is all about. Like manifestation begins with clearly identifying what you desire. Okay. So you could do this in a sense of, say, you have a specific career or lifestyle that you would love to have. Maybe there's a particular object or item that you would like to attract. Okay. This could go all the way down to like doing vision boards, if that's your thing, like, and having that board out everywhere so you could see it. But if you don't believe it, if you don't visualize it, if you don't journal about it, if you don't keep that as a constant thought, it's not going to happen. I did that with a car. The last vision board that I did, I accomplished everything on it. But one of them was my car that I have now, which is a Toyota Highlander. I didn't have a picture of a Toyota Highlander, but I did have a picture of this sized SUV, because the whole thought process, I had a Honda Accord before that, was that I wanted to be able to fit all of my children and my 2 dogs that I had at the time in my car and be able to take my entire family and my dogs to the beach. I was not going to be able to do that in a Honda Accord. I got 4 kids and I had 2 dogs and a husband and myself. So I needed a car that was economical, that was going to fit us all. Plus, if we needed to bring a couple bags, it was great on gas. And I put that on my vision board. Now, I could have just left it on there. In fact, I still have the same vision board because I accomplished everything on it. So why would I change it? And I was like, okay, I'm done with this process. I'm going to move on to something more powerful than a vision board. And there are a lot of things you can do that are more powerful. But anyways, I could talk about that at a later time. But it's been 2 years, almost 3 that I accomplished all of that. Oh, nice. But when the opportunity came for me to go to the dealership, and look at like, okay, I don't want to have to put hardly any money down and I want the lowest interest rate possible. I was able to get, because I kept it at the forefront. Every time I was doing my manifestation work or visualization work or whatnot, I visualized us going to the beach with my dogs, all of my kids, having a great time in this car. And it didn't cost us an entire gas tank just to get there. We all had fun. Nobody was uncomfortable because I've got tall kids. Like, everybody had plenty of space. And then we were laughing. Like, I kept visualizing this in this vehicle. And that the car payment would be less than the payment on my Honda Accord, which would you be like an SUV? How is that even possible? But because I believed that it was possible for me, I was able to walk into that dealership, only put $2,000 down, get a 3% interest rate, and leave with a car that only had 17 miles on it. So it was a brand new white Toyota Highlander. Now, the only difference is on my board, it was a black car, but my Honda was black, and I hated how you could see all the dirt and everything. So I was like, I do not want black. And my car, I love my car. I absolutely am obsessed with my car. That is the power of manifestation. That is the power of visualization. I didn't walk out of there in debt. I mean, granted, a car does put you in debt because it depreciates, but whatever. So, but I was able to, because I visualized what did it smell like? What did it feel like? What was the energy? What was the emotions that I'd feel to be able to accomplish this? Because we hadn't been able to do that for a very, 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 very long time. And that right there is that power. Okay. And I will tell you that by doing this daily, I was able to tune into my dark feminine frequency, attracting the desires that I wanted to me. Before I even knew what dark feminine energy was, I just understood the power of manifestation. So the other tools that you can do when it comes to like this is all again part of this like self-care journey, is affirmations. Affirmations are a very powerful tool. I am statements. Okay. I have the power to manifest anything I want into reality. I am going to write a list in the show notes. As a I'm writing this down. You guys show this podcast is not scripted. Okay. It just goes with the flow. I am naturally gorgeous. All eyes are on me wherever I go. And you could be very insecure, and that could be an uncomfortable affirmation, but I really want you to try it. Okay. Because what they do is they fire up the neural, that's like a hard word for me to say. The neural pathways that are aligned with your desired intentions. Okay. Saying affirmations helps you to think. What is it? Helps you to think, to feel, and to behave in the way that you desire. Okay. I want you to start your day with affirmations. These can help you set the tone for your day. I will wake up today. I will get up today. I will brush my teeth. I will be confident in my clothes today. Like those kind of things. Now, I want you to understand the difference in dark feminine affirmations because they do differ slightly. They focus on your power, they focus on your attraction, they do focus on your sexuality, and they focus on your confidence. Those are 4 attributes that women lack. A majority of women lack today. And again, it goes back to what we watched our mothers do. Now, if you're younger and you're listening to this, maybe you didn't grow up that type of environment, but for the most part, especially women of my age, where we're getting into that half century mark, I hate that I said that, but that's okay because I'm powerful and I'm fierce and I'm sexy and I'm confident, and I am okay with that because the 50-year-old version of me in a year and a half is going to bring it. But that's the difference in these affirmations. So these affirmations that I'm going to put in the show notes are going to be focusing on those 4 areas: your feminine power, your attraction, your sexuality, and your confidence. I want you to stop being afraid to be a sexy woman. Like, you are a sexy beast, babe. You need to own it. Whether you're single or whether you're married or whether you're divorced, I don't care. Own it. I want you to repeat these affirmations out loud. Okay. One of my favorite ones is, I am the woman of everyone's dreams. Hell to the yeah. Okay. So we're going to end it on that. I'm going to write these affirmations down in the show notes. I'm going to put a link to Amanda Francis. She's amazing, you guys. She's got so many free, like, on her website, she does, I think it's amandafrancis.com, but I'll write that down. But also on her YouTube, she's got so many guided like visualizations and manifestations and meditations. They're straight fire, like just fire. Okay. So session 4, we're really going to tap in to more about what does a dark femme look like. I'm not going to tap in too much. I really want to focus on our heads. Like, there's ways you can dress, there's confidence, there's shoulders, back, all of that. This is all stuff that you can obviously Google, but I like to focus on what the biggest impact was for me, which was in my body language, in my confidence, and in my mindset. And that's why I'm sharing all of this with you. So we will go into that for part 4, because this could be a 10-part series if I wanted it to be, but we don't need to do that. But excuse me, it's all about being fiercely bold. Okay. This is a haphazard podcast. I appreciate all of you that listen, but I just love this topic because this is what changed my life. This is what really changed my life over the course of the last couple months. Everyone has seen a huge, huge shift, and I want you to see that shift too in yourself. Okay. So with that being said, thank Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Share it with your friends. Don't forget to check out the show notes. Also, if you're watching this on my YouTube, thank you so much for your support. And I will see you guys on the pod for part 4 of tapping in on, well, no, really, how to become a femme fatale. All right, until next time, until whenever, okay? Until whenever. Bye, babes. Love y'all.